Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I'm here checking out all the rest of the games, because I realized halfway through this that there was going to be a bunch of games. The last 3 seconds I could just do all 3 of them at once, so let's go. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, this came out when the game first launched, and unfortunately it's not here anymore, but it's still a really good fighting game. Uncharted Golden Abyss was the spin-off made by Sony Bend, the people behind Siphon Filter. I actually really liked it. I thought the touch mechanics added a nice little thing to the game, and the shooting and cover and stuff and the plot was actually all pretty damn good. It wasn't on the level of the Uncharted console games, but it was still pretty fun nonetheless. And then Sony Bend decided not to make a Siphon Filter game, and now they're making a game called Dead Don't Ride. So that'll be fun. Uncharted Fight for Fortune is the card game that was a tie into Golden Abyss. I don't know why they insisted on making this. This was by Sony Bend too. It's a weird little card game where you have, I don't even remember the fucking rules. It's been a really long time. But my main problem with this game was that the trophies that you brought in from Uncharted Golden Abyss would actually unlock more powerful cards in Fight for Fortune. So someone who had all the trophies in Golden Abyss would have all the, what's the word? Would have all the powerful cards. And someone actually found a bug in Golden Abyss which revealed the existence of Fight for Fortune right away, which was kind of neat. But anyway, Unepic. It's a 2D dungeon. Well, not a dungeon crawler in the sense, but it's a bit of a platformer that has a dungeon element to it. And the idea is that you're an average guy who's just been teleported into this dungeon, and it's a bit of a parody on the RPG theme in general. And it still manages to be a good game in the process. You have a lot of different weapons you can take out that do a lot of different things. There's a lot of quests and a lot of places to explore and things to do. And it still manages to maintain a nice theme about it, and the writing's pretty funny. And it's got Edwin Tiong in it. So, you know, if you know who he is, you should have bought this game immediately. Unit 13 is a shooter game. The last game Zipper Interactive, the people behind SOCOM, made before they got closed down. The idea is that there's a bunch of different missions you can do with a bunch of different characters. There's not like 9 characters or something that each have their own set of weapons they can use. And there's a ton of different missions you can go do that all have their own different things. And the idea is you level up your guys, you get better weapons, and you use that to get onto the harder missions. And it's actually a really fun little game. It's got a lot to it. It's got a ton of different replay value, because there are missions that you can procedurally generate for each character, for every mission variation. I really want to play this game again, actually. I'll probably do that as like a Let's Play or something, because I really do like Unit 13. It's also pretty hard in some places. I got one of the bosses down to a fucking science. I was kind of amazed at myself. But yeah, Unit 13 is really good. If you're looking for a third-person shooter, look no further. Urban Trial Freestyle. It's also got co-op, Unit 13 does. Urban Trial Freestyle is a Trials ripoff, but it's actually alright. So here's how it works. You have a lot... Never mind. You have courses that are made up of a lot of exploding and terrible things. And you have a lot of events that occur in the middle of these courses. So the idea is, see, that's a speed check. You need to go as fast as you possibly can in order to get the highest score possible. Longest jump, stuff like that, right? Closest landing. So, yeah, it's got an interesting system where you need to be constantly on the mind for what you need to get done. It's a really interesting system, and I actually really like it. There's also typical time trial modes where you can race for the fastest way through the course, you know, but I still really do like Urban Trial Freestyle. It's not as polished as your typical Trials game, but for a $7 game, it's actually really neat. I don't know why they charge twice for it. Valhalla Knights 3 is an RPG which involves you getting 6 characters together and grinding the hell out of places to move forward. You've got this large open world to explore, but you won't be able to get anywhere near it because you've got lots of characters to fight. You have lots of quests to go do, and you have to do a lot of grinding in order to get lots of XP and stuff so that you stand a chance against bosses and all that. You need lots of money, which requires lots of grinding. You can have sexy times with ladies, and it's a bit strange. And unfortunately, they're not localizing Valhalla Knights 3 Gold, which was the enhanced version of this. There is online multiplayer where you can take your party against another player's party, but yeah, a little bit disappointing that they didn't localize Gold. That would have been great. But anyway, moving on. Valhalla Knights 3 wasn't actually that bad. It's just really grind heavy. And if you're not a fan of grind, don't go for that. Velocibox. It's a really fast game where you're going down a big tunnel as a box and you need to flip between either rotating between the left and right or flipping across to the next part. And you need to stay out of the way of stuff. Unfortunately, the game is so fucking fast that it's almost infuriatingly hard to the point of being impossible. So, you know, it's really, really hard. If you're looking for a challenge, go for it. Velocity Ultra is the remake of the PSP Mini. That was the original Velocity. The idea is you're going through a massive vertical stage and you have to collect as many pods and defeat as many things as possible for a high score while continuing to get through the stage. And it's really, really catchy. It really gets its hooks into you. You want to get better. You want to get faster. You want to get stronger. You want to start singing Daft Punk songs. But it's a surprisingly good game. It runs really fast. It runs really well. And it really gets your hooks into you. And you want to get this shit done. It's really good. And Velocity 2X was even better. Because what it did was, it kept the same stuff from Ultra, but it made a side-scrolling on-foot version of the same game to what, it made a side-scrolling version of the same game that happens in between the levels, so you've got even more precision to be had. And it looks even better. So, yeah. Velocity 2X and Velocity Ultra are both really good, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Are both really good skill-based games, but there's also a bit of memorization in there as well, so, you know, avoid if you don't like that sort of thing. You've also got DLC for Dual Core and Critical Urgency, which is kind of neat. Vitamin C is a free-to-play game, I believe, so I haven't even gone near it. Volume is a stealth puzzler from Mike Bithell, the guy who made Thomas Was Alone. The idea is you've got a bunch of gadgets you can use to get through these areas that remind me a lot of Metal Gear Solid VR missions, but they're not anywhere near as entertaining. They're a bit more vanilla and generic, and you can use these gadgets to get these guys out of the way. And again, it's more like a puzzler because it's just getting the guys out of the way at the right time and going right past them. But then again, that is the whole idea of stealth. So, you know, if you like that, you like that. Viva the Commodore 64 gravity-shifting platformer from, it was Terry Kavanagh? Yeah, I think it was Terry Kavanagh. Absolutely fantastic music, wonderful puzzle platforming, and an absolutely gorgeous Commodore 64 graphical style makes this game one of my favorite indie games that's ever existed. I've bought this game like 5 times and I've finished it 4, so yeah, well worth picking that one up. Moving on to W. The Walking Dead. It's a novel sort of thing. It's like a cinematic game where you have to go through and you have to make choices and you have to survive in the world of The Walking Dead. Except you don't really do any survival just as much as follow the plot along, but the plot itself is still pretty damn good. It's well written and it's got lots of interesting characters. Same thing with Season 2. The games, though, don't perform that well. Performance is kind of crap and, yeah, they're probably not the best place to play the game, but then again, at the same time, most of the places to play the game do have those performance issues, so unless you've got a really good PC that can handle the creaky old engine, then you don't really have to worry about these two. The Wolf Among Us is the same thing. It's based off an old comic book series, and it's a much more interesting world and universe, but it has a problem where it tends to wind down in the last couple of episodes, and it's really disappointing. A bunch of the Telltale games do that when they swap out writers for different episodes, but yeah. We Are Doomed is a twin-stick shooter that reminds me a lot of Geometry Wars. The problem with this game is that while it's got a fair few enemies and situations you can get into, you can see pretty much everything the game has to see within 20 minutes. Because the game only has 30 waves in its main mode, and you can get through most of them because the game gives you really frequent checkpoints. So you can end up just, you know, sitting back, relaxing, and just having fun until you get to the end. And then you've seen everything, and then you go to the survival mode, and that's basically it. That's all you've got. So it's kind of disappointing, honestly. When Vikings Attack is it's a weird game. Like, you run around as a bunch of different Vikings, you pick up a bunch of objects, and you throw them at other groups of Vikings. Or you throw them at people. It's actually kind of amazing. Wait, no, I've got this the wrong way around. You're regular people, and you throw objects at Vikings before they throw the objects at you. It's an amazing concept, and it's a ton of fun because it's all physics-based. There's no, like, preset shit here. Objects can go flying all over the place. People can go flying all over the place. There's even a multiplayer mode, which no one fucking plays. It's a really great idea, and I'm so disappointed that it never got, like, a bot mode or something like that. Wipeout 2048 is the last game from the developers of Wipeout, which was, Sony Liverpool, I believe it was. And it is fantastic. It's precision-based racing with a lot of skill involved as well. There's a ton of tracks, a ton of stuff to do in the main story mode. Lots of hover vehicles to unlock with lots of different statistics, so you can play whatever you like. And the gameplay is just so good. So good, so precise, so lovely, and it's got a great soundtrack too. And you can get all the tracks from HD Fury and HD, so that's all good there. Whoa Dave is not here for some reason, but it's like a two-dimensional arcade platformer influenced by games like Joust, where you have to collect as many eggs as possible and stay alive. It's kind of, it's not that great, honestly. It just gets boring after a few minutes, and there's no real reason to go back to it. Worms Revolution Extreme is one of the later Worms games. There's, you've got the 4 different classes that all do different kinds of weapons and damage, and you've got these 3D arenas that have lots of water in them that you can use to your advantage and stuff like that, but it just feels like it's all getting in the way of the typical Worms gameplay, and it's just, they've been making these games for years and they're just not getting any better, honestly. But, you know, if you're absolutely desperate for Worms on Vita, these will be fine. Although I'm a little bit disappointed that Worms Open Warfare 2 hasn't shown up on Vita yet, because, like, that PSP game was the best iteration of Worms since bloody World Party. So, yeah. The WRC and WRC 5 games are just rally games. They're about the same. I've heard 3 has more stuff in it than 5 does, so you probably want to go with 3 over 5, but, yeah, that's basically all I've got on that. X-Blaze is a visual novel. Code Embryo is a visual novel. Also of note is that the other X-Blaze game isn't here, which was, God, I can't remember the name of it. Hang on, I'll look it up. But yeah, X-Blaze Code Embryo was a visual novel, which is kind of annoying because there's zero way to actually get, yeah, X-Blaze Lost Memories. But, the problem with X-Blaze Code Embryo was that the story itself and all that was fine, but the only way to actually get a good ending in this game was to go through once, and then when you die, it gives you the ability to see all the articles that everybody else likes. And from the very beginning, you have to read every single article that one person likes in order to go down their route. So you can't figure that shit out by yourself until you're already one route through the game. It's kind of stupid, honestly, and I thought I was making a mistake, but turns out I wasn't. Then there was Lost Memories, which is a bloody waste of time, and I don't want to talk about it. But the idea behind that one is that it takes place after Code Embryo, and you're a girl stuck inside a virtual world, and you spend a lot of time pissing around doing nothing, walking through these stupid little virtual mazes that have nothing to do with anything, and it's a massive pain in the ass. I hate that game so much. XCOM Enemy Unknown Plus. Despite the fact that the port is anywhere between and a pile of shit, it is a full version of XCOM Enemy Unknown Plus, the remake. So, you get all the soldiers, you get all the technologies, you get all the enemies to go fight, you have all the missions, you have all the stuff you have to go build, all the research and all that. And it comes with all the stuff from Enemy Within, including the DLC, which was Slingshot, I think. And yeah, so you get the Psy troops, and not the Psy troops, the mech troops. So it's all there and it all works and you can play it just fine. So yeah, if you want XCOM on the go, that's probably your best choice. Zeo Drifter, it calls itself a Metroidvania of some kind, but it really isn't a Metroidvania as much as it is a single Routevania. You go to a planet and you try and beat it and you can't because you die immediately. So you go to another planet, then you go to another planet, then you go to the right planet because I went to the wrong planet 3 times. And then once you've done that, you go on through and you beat a boss, and then you go through to the next area and then you beat the same boss again. And I lost all hope for the game at that point. Also, I've noticed that I actually went through the game, like, with only 3 health, and I tried to get through the entire game and the boss with only 3 health, at least the first section. Turns out the little spiky ball things that come out of the ground and actually kill you if they run into you, shoot them for health. That was great. Y through Z, we're almost there. I recorded this all in one day. Look at the clock in the top right if you want proof. Ease, Memories of Cell Setter. It's an action RPG with 3 party members you can swap between at any time. And the action is fast, furious, fun, and absolutely fantastic. It looks great. It's got a great story. It's got a lot of different characters, a lot of different enemies to fight. You can explore a lot. Lots of bosses. And you get lots of items and harvesting stuff and different special moves and all that. And it looks great and it's wonderful. And yeah, it's also really funny at times. So yeah, if you haven't bought Ease Memories of Cell Setter yet, give it a try. Z-Run is the definition of generic zombie running game. So the idea is you've got a long street ahead of you and you have to hit zombies, you have to dodge them, you have to slide under them, you have to do all sorts of silly shit. And it feels like a mobile game because you have to buy stuff and upgrade it. And it's really not that good. It's very generic. It doesn't feel very good in the hands. It's just, no. If you want proof of that, go watch my video. I do have a video on this game. Zen Pinball 2 is the second best pinball game on Vita. It has a ton of themed tables from Marvel, from... there are a bunch of video game tables like Plants vs. Zombies and The Walking Dead. There's Star Wars. There's Aliens. There's stuff from Balls of Glory, which is Archer, American Dad, Family Guy. It's got a ton of them, and all these tables are virtual. They're not based on real tables. So the idea is that they have a lot more leg room to work with. Excuse me. When it comes to making tables, so they've got a lot of virtual tables that do a lot of very interesting things. The downside is that the physics themselves aren't as good as pinball arcades. The ball feels a lot more floaty and the flippers feel a lot less ineffective. But they still have some really nice tables here. Like, Epic Quest is a really good table. The Plants vs. Zombies table is fantastic. Yeah, there's just a bunch of cool stuff here if you're willing to dig through and give it a good look. And you can try every table for free. So that's a perfectly good reason to do that. Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward is an absolutely fantastic sequel to the sleeper hit 999 on DS. The idea is 9 people are stuck inside the Ambidex game where there's a bunch of different rules involving the prisoner's dilemma where you have to try and keep yourselves alive while other people can ally or betray with you. And the game has this amazing shit with time manipulation that just blows your fucking brain out. And makes you wonder how the hell they managed to think of all this shit beforehand. And I cannot praise the Zero Escape series enough. Go and play 999, then come back and play this. 999 is basically required to get the most out of Zero Escape. Virtue's Last Reward. And finally, we have Zombie Tycoon 2, Brainhole's Revenge. Which is a strategy game where you control a bunch of zombies to try and take down a bunch of humans and a bunch of other zombies. And from what I remember of playing with this game, the controls are really difficult to work with. It doesn't really feel like a strategy game more than just a puzzle game because you have to send people to the right places at the right time and it'll pretty much always work. There's no, like, variation in the... Yeah, it's a relatively boring game. Also, if I remember correctly, it runs like shit. So, yeah, that game's not a particularly good game in my personal opinion. I never really did a video on that one. I probably should have, but there we go. So, I just did like 5 hours of recording. I hope you guys enjoyed that. These will be... I wonder what time I'll be putting all these up. But yeah, that was a look through every single PlayStation Vita game on the US store again. And hopefully I'll be back at 30,000 subscribers and doing this again. So, this has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.